So we're on to Sunday's Cricket World Cup match between Pakistan and South Africa at Lords. This is the All Sports Betting Podcast. I'm Steve Wiss and I'm joined by Kevin Harper as ever. So, Kev, Lords comes to the party for this affair. A little bit early, perhaps, in proceedings for a game here. But what are you expecting from this ground and pitch?
Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, Steve? 3 weeks to the day that the champions are crowned on this very ground. It's going to be in use quite a bit, isn't it, over the next 21 days? So I would imagine we're going to see a similar pitch to what we've seen first up from most of the other grounds. Bit of green on the pitch, just to hold it all together. Probably going to be dry. There hasn't been no rain in the south for a while. Nothing to suggest really that it's going to be anything other than the norm. The old Hampshire groundsman is now head groundsman at Lords, so he produced batting paradises at the Ageas Bowl, and I wouldn't expect any different here. Middlesex put up plenty of runs in their Royal London One-Day Cup campaign here. So yeah, another good batting wicket. We know the outfield at Lords is always immaculate. Runs should flow, although whether they do so with these two batting lineups, I'm sure we'll get onto.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? We've got two sides that come here with clearly their weak aspect is the batting. Certainly from a South African point of view, it's been an absolute disaster, really, in that department. That even if they win all the remaining games, the likelihood is they're not going to qualify for the top four. So does that kind of is that a good or a bad thing for them? Do you think? Is the pressure off a little bit now?
From a point of view that they can't qualify, I guess it is, but you know, they're a proud bunch, aren't they? And they can't go home with this campaign in the sort of tatters that it's in. They need to restore some sort of pride, if for nothing else, to stop all the talk about AB de Villiers when they do get home. They're a little bit unlucky, weren't they, last time out? They put in their best performance, just couldn't quite get over the line. They walked into a Kane Williamson masterclass. Obviously, not the first and won't be the last who've done that, as he reproduced it again Saturday, didn't he? But you know, they do seem to be improving. They comfortably dispatched Afghanistan, who gave India the fright of all frights on Saturday, and you know, they nearly went down to the last ball, didn't they, against New Zealand? So there's signs of life from South Africa. I don't think they're just going to jack the towel in, but whether they're good enough to stay off a Pakistan side that nobody can really get the swing of remains to be seen.
Yeah, for Pakistan, there's still a realistic chance they could qualify, but they're going to have to start winning games. Probably all of the remaining five, to be honest with you. But you know, funny things have happened in sport, haven't they? So yeah, I mean, the Pakistan bowling attack of Mohammad Amir has been incredibly good, hasn't it, Kev? I guess it shouldn't be too much of a surprise there.
Yes and no. His wicket haul is impressive, isn't it? But he hasn't taken any wickets in the power play, or many wickets in the power play, sorry. And, you know, most of his wickets with his variety and his ingenuity at the death, which kind of makes you wonder, you know, whether they're genuine and whether South Africa can get away from Pakistan in this game. If they can, then, you know, they're going to put up half-decent showing. I actually think their best bowler's been Wahab Riaz. I think he's bowled really, really well in this tournament and hasn't had the luck that he deserves, actually. But that's so often the case, isn't it? And Amir's been the one to profit at the other end. But they do have one or two concerns in this bowling attack, Steve. Hassan Ali just is not firing on any cylinders whatsoever. And I'm sure if it weren't for the fact he didn't get the long handle out, he'd have been sacked off by now. But there's a couple of youngsters in waiting, and might be time for Hassan to take a blow.
All right, on to some bets for the game then. And in Saturday's match at Old Trafford, the boundaries and fours bets just about came in for us thanks to Carlos Brathwaite.
Remember that name, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're doing a similar sort of thing here again. You're going with under 58.5 boundaries. I'm going with under 47.5 fours. I mean, you're not expecting the runs to flow, are you, really, overall?
No, I'm not. No, I'm certainly not expecting the sixes to flow. These two sides aren't particularly big hitting sides at the best of times. These two bowling attacks pretty good. Amir might not be taking wickets up front, but he ain't conceding too many runs either, is he? I think he had that spell against India the other day. He was something like either gone for about 20 off 6 overs or something daft like that. And when they played England, he had a blinding spell as well, didn't he? So he's not going for many runs. South Africa aren't scoring many runs. Pakistan get to 100, 120 for 3, and then deck of cards falls in on them, don't they? So all things being equal, I don't see this being a high-scoring game. There will be high-scoring games here, I'm sure, but I don't see this one being one of them. Purely for the simple reason that there's not enough depth to either batting, really. I mean, it's only really the top 4 and a bit of Sarfraz for Pakistan so far. And as you mentioned, South Africa's batting just hasn't got going whatsoever yet. And they're chopping and changing their lineup like there's nobody's business. And when a team starts doing that, the panic's set in. So, I don't see many runs in this game. It basically came down to, do you take under on the boundaries or under on the runs? Lords is a fairly big ground, isn't it, without being one of the biggest. So you can get 2s and 3s here. I wouldn't like South Africa to start peppering the 2s and going above the runs line and the boundaries line stay safely. And the fact there ain't going to be too many 6s, though, makes me think that boundary line's too high when you compare it to the 4s line that you're taking. I mean, I'm taking a line 11 higher. There sure as hell ain't going to be 12 6s in the game.
Yeah, I'm taking the under 4s line myself. It's been my signature bet all tournament, really, so I'm not going to desert it. I just don't think it'll get anywhere near, to be honest. I mean, if we consider that match in West Indies, New Zealand, only just scraped over the line for that particular bet on Saturday, and you're really going to need at least a first innings score of 270 for this to be threatened, I think. But I don't see that happening. I could see maybe like a 240 or 250 playing a 250 in this game. Neither batting lineup is firing. Simple as that. But one player in the South Africa ranks that you think can go reasonably well here is Rashid van der Dusen. And you're taking his 26.5 runs line here to cover. Yeah,
which is pretty low, actually, when you factor in what he's done so far this tournament. He's started the tournament with 50 against England, then 41 against Bangladesh. Didn't cover it against India, but there was plenty of juice in that wicket for the seamers, wasn't there? And he just top scored with 67 against New Zealand, which he paced really well, actually. And at the time it didn't seem like much of an innings, did it? But it almost gave them a chance to get over the line when they came to defending the scores. He's not played too many ODIs, Van der Dusen. He's only played 15 of them, but 5 of them came in that series against Pakistan in South Africa at the start of the year, where he racked up an average of 120.5 in the series. He scored 93, 80 not out, 18 and 50 not out. So 3 of the 4 times he batted in that series, he made 50. He's already made 2 50s in this competition. So we know he likes the attack. We know he's in good form. He's only got to get half as many of a 50 here. And I think there's every chance of that happening, given the form of everyone else around him. He's been batting 4 or 5, hasn't he, depending on if Markram plays or not. And that's probably the perfect position. Keeps him away from those dangerous new ball bowlers and gets him in to attack the part-timers. So, pretty confident that one's going to land.
You got performance bet in the South Africa ranks as well. You're going for Fetler Quayo, 41.5 performance points here. That's all he needs to cover. His sort of game to go well in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been in good form as well, hasn't he? Excuse me. He showed in that India game that he can bat, and he's bowled relatively well throughout the tournament. He also played in that series against Pakistan earlier in the year. He took 4 wickets at Durban, scored 69 not out. And if you can score your runs at Durban, you're not doing too badly. He also took a couple of wickets at Cape Town. So he does take wickets against this bowling attack. Against this batting lineup, which is very handy. And as I say, in this tournament so far, he's had a pretty decent time of it. He began with 24 and runs and a wicket, then followed it up with 2 for 52 against Bangladesh. Didn't play particularly well against India in terms of the ball, 1 for 40, but with 34 runs on top of that was lovely. 2 wickets against Afghanistan and 17 not out. So he covered this performance in the first 4 games. He didn't cover it in the last game against New Zealand. He scored a duck, but he was in very, very late in the innings, wasn't he? And one for 73. He was the one that New Zealand got after a sluggish start. But that seems to be the freak performance. He's generally taking wickets in those middle overs, and if he's on again in the middle overs, that's when Pakistan start to stutter, isn't it? Could easily be some cheap wickets coming his way. 41.5 is not really the biggest line. I fancy Pakistan will get him into bat. So if he can get a couple of runs, you're only looking for a couple of wickets, and if he can get in a bit earlier and bump his total up to 22, you're only looking for 1 wicket. So you're only basically looking for a solid all-round game from him. So yeah, I'm happy to take the over there.
Top Pakistan batsman market. You're taking a big price in this one. Imad Wasim, 33 to 1 shots. A live chance to top score for them.
Yeah, certainly based on that innings at Old Trafford last week, where he was going along quite nicely, 46 not out, and then the rain came. Who knows what he would have made? I mean, obviously, Pakistan weren't going to win the game, were they? I should say 46 not out. Of course, they came back and completed that innings to get to 46 not out. But he was going nicely before the rain came, which is my point. And in that series that I've mentioned a few times already, he had two scores of not out in the 40s. So there's plenty of mileage for him to go beyond 50, which might just be enough with Rabada and Gidi hopefully taking care of the top order. Maybe with the exception of Babar Azam, we could do with him collecting a few runs in this game, but obviously not too many. If those two do take care of the top order, and Pakistan do start to crumble against Peklakwayo and Tahir, someone down the order might easily profit, and Imad Wasim is batting well enough to do that.
Yeah, okay. So that pretty much sums up this match. So at the end of this podcast, 4 or 5 good bets to get tucked into there, and we'll be ready for the next week of action starting Monday. Yeah,
absolutely, Steve. Weather's absolutely perfect next week. Not got any worries on that grounds now, so we can get right stuck into this. This tournament's come to life over the last 4 or 5 days. 3 or 4 really, really good finishes, a couple of surprises, one or two that should have been surprises that weren't quite, and still those semi-final spots up for grabs. So next 7 days should be really good with some fantastic matches, not least England, Australia on Tuesday, which is probably the biggest game in the tournament right now.
Okay, right. Well, we'll see you for that one then, and good luck on Sunday.
Cheers, Steve, and yourself. All the best.
Cheers.